What if everything you know about God, the universe, and your own existence is a lie? What if for centuries, the truth was hidden from you, not just forgotten, but carefully erased by those in power? Imagine a world where the real story of creation, your purpose, and the nature of reality itself has been buried beneath mountains of fear, control, and religious dogma. This truth is not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. It's a truth so powerful that entire civilizations tried to destroy it. But even the darkest forces cannot keep the light hidden forever. Some truths find a way to survive, no matter how much they are attacked or denied. And one of these truths is called Gnosticism. Gnosticism isn't just another belief system. It's not about adding one more religion to the pile. Gnosticism is a direct challenge to everything we've been told about reality. It dares to suggest that the world we live in is not the perfect creation of a loving God, but a trap designed to keep our souls asleep. It whispers that the God billions worship is not the true source of love and creation, but a false God, a deceiver. According to the Gnostics, true salvation doesn't come through blind faith, obeying laws, or going to church every Sunday. True salvation comes from within, from waking up to the truth that has been buried inside each of us. But why would anyone want to hide this knowledge? And what happens when you finally open your eyes and see beyond the illusion? To answer that, we have to go back, way back, to a time when Christianity was still new and wild. In those early days, there wasn't just one version of Christianity. There were many. Different groups competed for followers. Each had its own ideas about God, salvation, and the meaning of life. Gnosticism was one of these early movements, but it stood out because it refused to bow to any earthly authority. The Gnostics didn't believe you needed a priest or a bishop to connect with the divine. They believed you could experience the true God directly by looking within yourself. The word gnosis means knowledge, but not the kind you can find in books or hear in sermons. It's deep, personal, spiritual knowledge. It's something you experience in your soul. The Gnostics taught that we are all fragments of the true divine source, temporarily trapped in a world of matter and illusion. They said the real path to salvation is not obeying rules or belonging to the right religion. It's about waking up, remembering who we really are. This idea was dangerous. It was revolutionary. And it terrified the early church leaders. Because if people realized they didn't need priests, churches, or rituals to be saved, they couldn't be controlled. They wouldn't fear hell. They wouldn't pay money for forgiveness. They wouldn't obey orders out of fear. They would be free. And freedom is the greatest threat to any system built on control. So, the Gnostics had to be silenced. Their writings were banned. Their followers were hunted and killed. Their communities were destroyed. For a long time, it seemed like the Gnostic message had been wiped from the earth. But truth, like a seed buried underground, has a way of sprouting when you least expect it. In 1945, deep in the Egyptian desert near a place called Nag Hammadi, a sealed jar was discovered. Inside were ancient texts that had been hidden for over 1,500 years. These were the lost Gospels of the Gnostics, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, the secret book of John, and more. Suddenly, the world could read the words the early church tried so hard to erase. And what these texts revealed was shocking. They told a very different story about God, the world, and humanity. According to Gnosticism, the universe we live in is not the creation of a good and loving God. It is the work of a false God, a blind and arrogant being called the Demiurge. This Demiurge, believing himself to be the ultimate creator, fashioned a world of suffering, fear, and death. And he demands worship and obedience, not out of love, but out of a desperate need to control what he doesn't truly understand. The Gnostics said that above the Demiurge, beyond the material universe, there exists the true source of all being, the Pleroma, a realm of pure light, love, and truth. From the Pleroma came countless spiritual beings called eons, who reflected the different aspects of divine perfection. One of these beings, Sophia, which means wisdom, made a mistake. Acting without permission from the Pleroma, she created the Demiurge. Ashamed of her mistake, Sophia tried to hide it, but the Demiurge, blind to the higher reality, created the material world in his own flawed image. When you look around at the world, the suffering, the injustice, the endless conflicts, it's easy to wonder, could this really be the work of a perfect, loving creator? The Gnostics answered with a clear no. They believed that the material world is a prison for the soul, a place designed to keep us distracted, fearful, and asleep to our true nature. But the story doesn't end there. Hidden deep within each human being, the Gnostics taught, is a divine spark, a piece of the true source. This spark longs to return home. It longs to break free from the chains of the material world and reunite with the Pleroma. But to do that, we must first wake up. We must see through the lies we have been told since birth. The false god, the Demiurge, did not work alone. He created the Archons, powerful spiritual beings who serve as wardens of this prison world. The Archons manipulate human perception. They spread fear, hatred, division, and confusion. They make sure we stay busy chasing money, fame, power, anything to keep us from looking inward. They fill the world with distractions so that we never realize the truth about who we are. Think about how our modern society operates. Fear dominates the news. Division rules our politics. Endless work and consumerism keep us distracted and exhausted. We are taught to trust external authorities, political leaders, religious figures, corporate brands, more than our own inner voice. All of this serves the same purpose, to keep us asleep, trapped in the illusion. But there is hope. The Gnostics believe that awakening is possible. Despite all the forces trying to keep us blind, the divine spark inside each of us cannot be completely extinguished. It can be ignored. It can be buried under layers of fear and lies. But it cannot be destroyed. And once you begin to awaken, once you begin to remember who you really are, the whole illusion starts to fall apart. This is why the early church feared Gnosticism so much. It wasn't just a different religious opinion. It was a direct threat to the entire structure of power and control. Gnosticism taught that true salvation comes from within, not from obeying religious authorities, not from paying for indulgences, not from confessing to priests. You don't need an external savior. You need to wake up. And that brings us to one of the most shocking parts of the Gnostic story, their understanding of Jesus. According to the Gnostics, Jesus did not come to die for humanity's sins in the way the church teaches. He came as a messenger from the Pleroma, a being of pure light sent to remind us of who we are. He came to teach us how to awaken, how to see through the illusion, how to break free from the prison of matter. In the Gospel of Thomas, a text considered heretical by the mainstream church, Jesus says, "The kingdom is inside you, and it is outside you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will be known, and you will realize that you are the children of the living Father." This was a message of empowerment, not submission. It was a call to self-discovery, not obedience. And that is precisely why it was suppressed. Because a humanity that knows its own divine nature is a humanity that cannot be enslaved. Today, echoes of Gnostic wisdom are everywhere. Modern theories about simulation reality, artificial intelligence, and psychological manipulation hint at what the Gnostics knew long ago. That reality is not what it seems, that we are being deceived, and that liberation requires awakening to a deeper truth. The journey is not easy. Awakening means facing uncomfortable truths. It means questioning everything you have been taught to believe. It means rejecting the comforting lies and confronting the possibility that the world you see is a carefully crafted illusion. But it is a journey worth taking. Because once you see through the illusion, Once you touch the divine spark within you, everything changes. You realize that you are not a powerless sinner begging for salvation. You are a fragment of the divine, a being of light who has the power to return home. The Gnostics left behind a map, a secret path through the maze of illusions. Their words, long buried and forgotten, are now available once again to those with the courage to seek them out. The choice is yours. Stay asleep and live within the dream, or awaken and see reality as it truly is. And once you open your eyes, you can never go back. Jesus was never meant to be a sacrifice sent to suffer for humanity. He was not here to build churches, demand worship, or force people to follow strict rules. His mission was something far deeper and more powerful. Jesus came as a spiritual liberator, a divine messenger who came to reveal a hidden truth, that the world we live in is like a prison, and that the God many worship from the Old Testament was not the true, ultimate God. He came to show that salvation does not come from believing blindly or following orders, but through knowing yourself, through awakening the divine light within. The early Gnostics understood this message better than anyone. They called Jesus the bringer of Gnosis, meaning the one who brings knowledge, the one who awakens people to the truth. Among the many ancient texts hidden for centuries and later found in the Nag Hammadi library, one gospel stood out: the Gospel of Thomas. Unlike the New Testament stories that focus mainly on miracles, sufferings, and Jesus' death, the Gospel of Thomas offers pure, simple sayings of wisdom. It reveals a side of Jesus that most people never hear about, not as a figure of sacrifice, but as a teacher of deep spiritual truths. One powerful saying from this gospel tells us, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." These words are at the heart of Gnosticism. They teach that salvation does not come from outside sources, not from priests, rituals, or churches, but from the power already inside each of us. The kingdom of God, as Jesus said many times, is within. It is not somewhere far away in the clouds, and it is not controlled by any religious leaders. It is already within each soul, just waiting to be awakened. This message challenged everything that religious leaders built their power upon. If people realized they were already divine inside, they would no longer need priests to act as middlemen between them and God. They would no longer need churches or strict religious rules to tell them how to live. They would find their own path to truth. And so, Jesus' true teachings were seen as dangerous by the powers that ruled the world. If humanity awakened to their inner power, the rulers, both seen and unseen, would lose control. So, those forces worked hard to erase the real message. Jesus did not fit into the system of religious law at the time. The Gospels even show him openly challenging the Pharisees, the powerful religious authorities. He did not teach that people were born sinners who needed to beg for forgiveness. He taught that we were divine beings trapped inside bodies, blinded by ignorance. In the Gnostic Gospel of Philip, it says, "Ignorance is the mother of all evil. Those who do not awaken live like cattle." This was a direct threat to those who profited from keeping people ignorant and obedient. Jesus often spoke in parables, stories with hidden meanings, so that only those truly ready to understand could grasp the deeper message. In the Gospel of Matthew, he tells his followers, "To you, it has been given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given." In other words, there were two sets of teachings. One public and simple for the masses, and another secret and powerful for those ready to truly awaken. Many people today believe that Jesus rose from the dead physically, but Gnostics believed the resurrection was not about the body. It was a symbol, a sign of the soul waking up from the dream of the material world. Death, in this sense, meant dying to the illusion, the false belief that this physical life is all there is. Resurrection meant awakening to the truth and rising above the control of the material world. Jesus did not die to pay for human sins. He died to show that death itself, the fear and the chains of the physical world, could be overcome. He showed the way to spiritual freedom. But this truth was too dangerous to be allowed to spread. If people understood that salvation was something personal and internal, churches would lose their power. Governments would lose a way to control people through fear. So, history was changed. In 325 AD, Roman Emperor Constantine gathered church leaders at the Council of Nicaea. Together, they decided which writings would be part of the official Bible and which would be destroyed. Any gospel or teaching that did not fit the new image of Jesus as a savior who required loyalty to the church was labeled heresy. Gnostic writings were banned, burned, and forgotten for centuries. The church recast Jesus as a figure of obedience. The message of inner awakening was replaced with rules, guilt, and fear of hell. People were taught that they were born sinful and needed the church to save them. It was a brilliant move because a system built on guilt and fear creates obedient followers. It creates people who do not question authority, but instead depend on it. Despite the efforts to erase Gnosticism, the spirit of Gnostic knowledge never completely died. It survived in hidden places, in secret societies, underground movements, and mystical traditions. Even today, it continues to resurface. The reason is simple. Truth cannot be destroyed forever. Once it is seen, it has a way of returning, generation after generation. The same powers that suppressed Gnostic teachings in the past still exist today, but their methods have changed. Instead of burning books, they drown truth in endless distractions. Entertainment, social media, consumerism, all designed to keep people asleep. Instead of killing those who question, they label them as conspiracy theorists, extremists, or fools. Instead of demanding obedience to religion, they promote obedience to a shallow, materialistic lifestyle. Most people never realize they are trapped. They live their whole lives focused on external success, entertainment, and fear. They believe what they are told. But a few people, the seekers, start to question. They look around and realize that something feels wrong. They feel the pull to awaken. They search for truth beyond the surface. These are the people who reconnect with the ancient wisdom, the same wisdom that Jesus, the Gnostics, and other spiritual teachers tried to share. Gnosticism today is more important than ever because the world we live in is still a kind of prison. It is a prison built not with walls, but with illusions. Illusions about success, happiness, safety, and authority. To escape means to wake up, to see through the lies, to recognize the divine spark inside yourself, and to live from that place of inner power. But escaping is not easy. It requires facing uncomfortable truths. It means questioning everything you have been taught. It means walking a path that may be lonely, misunderstood, or even dangerous. But the reward is greater than anything the material world can offer. True freedom, true knowledge, true connection to the divine. Modern Gnosticism teaches that this journey is not about following another external authority. It is about turning inward, awakening the power within, and seeing the world for what it truly is. It is about remembering who you really are, not a sinner, not a slave, not a consumer, but a divine being capable of wisdom, love, and liberation. Today, the ancient Gnostic flame is burning again. People all over the world are beginning to wake up. They are questioning old systems, rejecting shallow answers, and seeking deeper meaning. This is not a coincidence. It is the continuation of a battle that has been happening for thousands of years. The battle between those who want to keep humanity asleep and those who seek to awaken it. The question each person must ask is simple. Am I willing to see the truth? Am I ready to step out of the illusion and reclaim my divine nature? Because once you see the prison, you cannot unsee it. And once you know you are free, no one can ever truly control you again. The knowledge that Jesus tried to share, the knowledge that the Gnostics preserved, is not just history. It is a living, breathing truth that is calling out to us right now. It whispers that salvation is not something you wait for. It is something you claim. It is something you become. For centuries, the real truth was hidden from the world. The Gnostics, those who once held powerful knowledge about the nature of reality, were erased from history. Their teachings were banned, their sacred texts were burned, and their wisdom was pushed into darkness. Yet, some knowledge is too strong to stay buried. Today, as information spreads faster than ever before, Gnosticism is returning, not as a forgotten relic of the past, but as a tool for understanding the illusions that still control modern life. The same forces the Gnostics warned us about are still at work today. They spoke of false rulers, mind-controlling beings called archons, and a world built on spiritual lies. These forces haven't disappeared, they have simply changed their masks. What is different now is that people are beginning to notice. The Gnostics taught that the archons ruled by keeping humanity trapped in ignorance. Looking at today's world, their influence is more visible than ever. Instead of burning books, the system now buries truth under endless waves of noise, social media, constant entertainment, and non-stop news cycles. Our minds are kept so busy that we rarely stop to ask important questions. The system thrives on conflict and division. Governments, corporations, and media outlets push us to fight among ourselves, left versus right, rich versus poor, race against race. As long as people are fighting each other, they are too distracted to see who is truly pulling the strings. Long ago, people were enslaved with physical chains. Now, the chains are invisible: debt, social status, endless consumerism. People spend their whole lives working for success inside a system designed to keep them spiritually asleep. In the same way that the demiurge, the false god in Gnostic belief, claimed to be the only god, modern science claims that only the material world is real. Spirituality is laughed at, consciousness is reduced to simple brain chemistry, and anyone who questions the official story is labeled crazy. Is this all just an accident? Or is it exactly what the Gnostics warned us about? What makes this even more fascinating is that modern science is starting to confirm what ancient Gnostics already knew. Quantum physics suggests that reality isn't as solid as we believe. Matter is more like an illusion, and consciousness plays a key role in shaping what we see as real. Some scientists even suggest that the universe might be a simulation, very similar to the Gnostic idea that the material world was a fake reality created by the demiurge. Near-death experiences, visions, and mystical moments also describe hidden dimensions, beings of light, and the idea that the physical world is just a shadow of something greater. These ideas match Gnostic teachings perfectly. The world is beginning to wake up. Science is now uncovering truths that Gnostic wisdom taught thousands of years ago. This reality is not what it seems. If the world we live in is a prison built to keep us asleep, the question is no longer whether the prison is real. The real question is how we escape it. The first step to freedom is awareness. Once you see the illusion for what it is, it begins to lose its power over you. The more you question what you have been told, the more cracks you will start to see in the walls of the system. Recognizing the illusion is the beginning of taking back your power. The next step is to stop feeding the system with your energy. Every minute you spend trapped by fear, chasing external validation, or absorbing empty distractions, you are giving your life force to the very system that wants to keep you asleep. The world trains us to look outward for approval, for success, for happiness. But the Gnostics knew the truth lies within. They taught that true knowledge, real gnosis, does not come from religion, politics, or society's labels. It comes from an internal awakening. It comes from remembering who you truly are without the chains of fear and control that society places on you. Today, just as in the past, The system fights back against any kind of awakening. But now, the war is not fought with swords or armies. It's fought through the mind. Entertainment, pharmaceuticals, the school system, technology, all are used to control what people think and feel, keeping them too distracted, anxious, or numb to see the bigger picture. Most people will never wake up. They will live their whole lives trapped inside an illusion, believing what they are told, never once questioning if the world they see is real. But a few people will. A few will see through the lies. A few will realize that this world is not our true home, that we were never meant to be slaves to this system. Deep within, the spark of the divine still burns. And those who recognize it will start to remember their true nature, powerful, eternal, free. That is why rediscovering Gnosticism today is so important. It's not just a forgotten religion. It's a map for escaping the illusion. But knowing the truth is not enough. Seeing the prison is only the beginning. Breaking free requires action. Most people who wake up a little get trapped again, pulled back into the system by fear, distraction, or comfort. The system is built to make waking up incredibly difficult. Even when people begin to notice that something is wrong, they are bombarded by new distractions designed to pull them back to sleep. Real freedom comes not from fighting the system externally, but from transforming yourself internally. You cannot destroy the illusion by rebelling against it. You can only escape it by rising above it. To do this, you must start by questioning everything you were taught to believe. Religion told you that you were weak and sinful. Science told you that you are just a machine made of chemicals. Society told you that success is measured by wealth, status, and obedience. But all of these messages were designed to make you small and easy to control. The next step is detaching from the system. That doesn't mean living in a cave or rejecting all modern life. It means living with awareness. It means no longer giving your power away. Stop reacting to fear. Stop chasing external rewards. Stop believing that possessions, status, and approval define your worth. Fear is one of the system's greatest weapons, but it is an illusion. Once you stop fearing death, failure, or rejection, you become free. You must also stop needing constant approval. Social media teaches you to chase likes and followers, but real fulfillment comes from within. You don't need validation from the outside world. The less you depend on it, the freer you become. Simplify your life. Consume less. Question more. The less you participate in the games of the system, the less power it has over you. At the same time, you must reconnect with the divine part of yourself. The most dangerous lie the system ever taught was that you are powerless. The Gnostics knew the truth. Inside you is a spark of the source, the original creator. Meditation, silence, self-inquiry, and spiritual study are ways to awaken this inner light. Answers will not come from authorities or experts. They will come from within you, from your dreams, from your intuition, from moments of deep inner knowing. Sacred texts like the Gnostic writings, the Quran, and Hermetic teachings were preserved for a reason. They are not meant to be followed blindly, but used as keys to unlock your own understanding. Awakening is not about gathering information. It is about transformation. You must be willing to burn away the false parts of yourself, let go of old identities, and step into your true nature. Awakening is not a destination. It is a continuous process of becoming more aligned with your real self. Most people will resist this path. They will mock it, fear it, or fight it because the system is deeply embedded in their identity. That is why the greatest form of rebellion is not trying to tear the system down. It is waking up yourself and planting seeds of doubt in others. Ask the questions that make people think. Challenge the illusions, but do it gently, with compassion. One honest question can be more powerful than 100 lectures. Find others who are also waking up. The system thrives when people are isolated. but community is a threat to control. Connect with those who inspire and challenge you. Support each other. And most of all, live your truth. The more you embody awakening, the more others will be drawn to it. Awakening spreads like wildfire. And once enough people see through the illusion, the entire system will collapse from lack of belief. You now hold the knowledge that was hidden for centuries. The question is, what will you do with it? Most people will choose to go back to sleep, to dismiss these ideas as fantasy or conspiracy or nonsense. But a few will awaken. A few will realize that we were never meant to live as slaves. A few will remember that the light inside them is older, stronger, and more powerful than anything the false rulers can create. And those few, they are the ones who will change everything. This is just the beginning.